Warte. Stung. Hoch. Yep. Yep. Ja, ja. Hard roll, hard roll. Gut. Gut. Nicht gut.
75. 3. 2, 3.
Nicht gut. Nicht gut.
2.
Nicht gut. Was bist du da, Herr? Ja, ja. Komm noch ein bisschen, komm noch. Gut, gut. Gut, top.
Gut.
Gut gesehen. 15,5. If. 15,5.
Okay. Ja. Ja. 75. Gut.
Nummer 9. Yep. Oh. Yep. 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 Oh, no. Gut. 10, 2.
Mega. Ja. Ja, vor allem 3 Steine, weißt du?
Also er fühlt sich voll, wie gesagt, schneller als der.
Also.
Ich denke, 14 ist nicht schon. 14,5.
Ja. Spielen wir so ein Eis.
Ja, 0 bis 1.
Nicht gut. Nicht gut. Linie ist noch gut. So weiter, ja. Ja, jetzt kannst du wieder, geil. Halt. Jetzt beißen. Ah, gut gewischt. Okay. 14,5. Ja, sorry.
Was hast du gehabt?
Heu übrigens.
Was hast du gehabt? Okay.
Ja, 14,5.
Ja, 14 Uhr war schon gut. Ja.
14 war gut?
Ja, gut gewusst.
Splits bin ja schwierig zu predikten. Weißt du?
Das stimmt, ja. Vor allem, wenn wir noch
Fox
nicht
kann ich
gespielt
einfach gut
haben.
sagen.
Ja.
Splits sind ja schön.
Ja.
patentiert ist.
Ja.
Ja. Chip rein. Sie kann nur Druck machen.
Ja, ja. Finde ich geil. Der Roll. Ja. Ja, gut, jeder, der überall rollt, ist halt scheiße. Nachher splittet sie.
Ja, ist klar.
Ja.
Sind meine jetzt beide der langsam sind, ja?
Nein, der Rest war gut. Der zweite war es 10-2.
Kannst immer noch Schott werden.
Faden länger.
Linie gut. Warte denn. Linie okay. Macht sicher alles. Sicher alles da. 12,5. Okay, 12,5. Das war 14,5 vorher.
Viel korrigiert. Ja. Aber jetzt kann ich auch noch einen dritten.
Das Slide war gut gewesen. Ich habe viel mehr.
Ja.
Vorher machen wir noch. Schau, wo ist das? Ja. Das ist eine Chance gekriegt. Alles gut.
Gut.
9!
Mini.
Was hat noch?
Ja, ich meinte hinter dran rollen. Haben wir noch mal eine Chance? Achtung!
Voran! Ja! Tipp! Wow! Wow! Tipp! Wow! Ah. 9-2. Gut gespielt! Was ist das wieder?
Split.
Against me? Hello, good afternoon, everyone joining. Welcome to the 2020 edition of the Baden Masters. So thank you everyone for your patience. We were just doing a couple of little technical bits and pieces to make sure we had everything correct. It's quite a tight schedule, so we're a little bit behind because of a couple of extra ends needed in the previous draw. So now we're in the first end of our featured game here, and it's Team Van Dorp from Netherlands versus Team Hess from Switzerland. So we're back in the rhythm now. We're just at the fourth shots from the first end. So Team Hess, the Swiss, they've got last shot, so the Dutch team are just trying to remove that counter. Nobody wants to be facing a big end in end number one, so they just want to try to chip out that yellow. I think he's just going to catch some of it, but not enough, so a bit of a mistake there in that first end from the Dutch team. So we'll have a bit of a chat about what the competition looks like this year. Everybody's had a very strange summer, not only in the curling community, but yeah, we'll just catch ourselves up first with this game and keep an eye on what's going on here.
So. Hast du ein bisschen mehr gegeben sogar noch?
So.
Wir können ja ohne Risiko.
Wir müssen einfach Second oder Shot werden.
Ja.
So this is the first game today for both of these teams. We've had a couple of rounds already with the A group. Those were also on the YouTube channel, so some of you may have seen those already. This is now the B group. So first game of the day for them. And maybe could be some of the first games for these teams in general, because it's been strange circumstances for the past few months, so I know that that's hit everybody hard in all kinds of activities, including in curling, so probably a lot of these teams have not had the practice that normally they would have.
Yeah, hard.
So
this
looks like a nice draw to put a bit of pressure on the Dutch
hard,
team.
Beester.
From young Hess. They're going to have to scrub it ever so hard, but have they got it? Oh, and it's short, so there's a exchange of mistakes there, so the Dutch will have a chance to make up for that mistake in the previous shot. So this is the Baden Masters. This is typically the first competition, at least in Europe, the first of the World Curling Tour competitions in Europe. It's a big competition. There are some big names on this trophy. But it could be chances for less experienced teams to maybe get a scalp this weekend, because it's the first time back after a bit of a strange summer for everyone. So none of the teams will have had as much practice and thrown as many stones as they normally would at this stage. So yeah, there could be opportunities for some surprise results this weekend. Everybody's similarly disadvantaged, having not had much practice. But let's see what last shot for Netherlands can do. So again, they don't have last shot here. They want to try to minimize the number of points that the Swiss team can get. So it looks like they're going for that front yellow. I'm not sure they're going for the double.
Stick.
Oh, he's having a go at it. Oh, great try.
Good.
So good effort there. Let's just see it. Let's see how close it was. Here comes the red Dutch stone. Oh, look at that. Great effort for a first end of a first competition.
Save it. Yeah.
But what that does mean is that the Swiss team have a relatively straightforward draw to score 2 points here. They've got plenty of space to drop their second yellow. It needs to be touching the white 8-foot ring up at the top there.
Linie gut, putzen!
Oh. Alles dienen.
Looks like everybody's happy with the weight, doesn't need
12-2.
any help.
Sit.
Is that going to stop in time? It's not, so just some little teething troubles at the moment for both teams, just getting our feet back on the ice for the first time. So a couple of little mistakes here in that first end. A couple of let-offs for both teams there, really. Just trying to find the rhythm. So that's 1 point to Swiss. So while we're switching ends, we can say hello to the teams, which we would typically do at the beginning of the game. So we've got the team Van Dorp from Netherlands are playing team Hess from Switzerland. So on the left side there, we can see the Dutch team. So they are skipped by Jaap Van Dorp, and throwing fourth is Retornaz. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Victor. Skipped Jaap Van Dorp, he plays number 3. We have Laurence Hoekman, who plays number 2, and Carlo Glasbergen playing lead stones today. They're coached by Shari Lebrant. And that Dutch team, they've been doing a lot of good work. They've been really building quite a name for themselves, this Dutch team. They've been getting some really nice results the past 2 or 3 seasons. So then
2-3!
we can also say hi to
Linie
the
goed.
Swiss team.
3!
Stop.
So fourth and skip
Snel.
in the Swiss team
In de garde.
is Jan Hess. Number 3 is Simon Gloor.
Kan ik
He's also the vice skip. We have Yves Stocker
Kan
at
niet stuur,
2
kan niet stuur.
and
Mist
Reto
u.
Schönenberger
Oh.
throwing lead stones.
Goed.
15-3. Goed.
Links kan ik af. Links.
So both of these teams are pretty experienced now. As we said, this is a World Curling Tour competition, so all of the teams here are pretty well established. So it's very high quality competition here. And here we are back at the beginning of the second end. So Netherlands will be quite happy that they had a bit of a let-off in that first end, that the Swiss didn't manage to score 2. So Netherlands will be fairly happy with how that first end went. And they will now be trying to build up some stones so that they can hopefully score a 2. So there's Reto Schönenberger, our lead player from
Linie
Team
goed.
Hess.
12!
Linie
12
goed.
bis 8!
So he's
Linie is
calling,
goed.
Bis 4!
Achtung. Linieplatz.
Bis 4!
he thinks it's going to the forefoot.
Geil. Bis da.
It looks like the Swiss team are only playing with 3
Ah,
players,
let's
so
see.
I'll try and work out who's not playing.
Yep. Yep. Goed. Goed zo.
It's a nice effort from
Lied
Reto.
af. Goed.
So because we've only got 3 players in the team, we do still play 8 stones. And what happens is the 2 players who throw first in the team, they play 3 stones each, and then whoever throws last, they still just throw 2 stones. So if ever you have to play with 3, if your club mate is running late or something, then that's how that works. So the first 2 players throw 3 stones each, and whoever throws fourth, they still only get 2 stones. So this is like a nice effort from the Netherlands lead. Really nice couple of stones there. So he put up that lovely guard first of all, and then came straight round it. So
Als vast weer
nice
terug,
stones
hè.
there from Carlo Glasbergen. That's giving the Swiss a bit of a headache immediately.
Dan
So
hoor is je nog goed.
they're having a bit of a discussion about where they want to end up. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to follow that red stone, and they just want to cancel it out. So if they can follow that red stone but land just a little bit closer to the centre of the rings, then that
12
will
bis 8!
Inderdaad.
cancel that nice
Misty!
Dutch stone.
Warte.
That won't be a counter anymore.
Misty!
Let's put a bit to curl.
Warte. Voor de kuil.
It seems like they're quite happy with the weight.
No
They were
need,
calling
no
about
need.
to the 8-foot
need.
circle, which is the white circle, as we can see it.
Da.
Wat
Yep.
voor raak.
Yep.
It's
in
not
de
going to curl
nog.
quite enough.
Zo, oké dan.
So it had very nice for weight. It just didn't
Dat is weer tijd.
curl quite enough, so
Dat is waar ze worden gegaan.
it is still closer to the middle though. So now Swiss are lying 2. But Netherlands are not going to worry about that at the moment. They're quite happy to keep the play over to the side. So what they're doing now is, looks like they're going to try to clear some space in the middle. It doesn't help them having these stones in the middle. So this is our second player, Laurens Hoekman.
Ja, 5 links lang.
It looks like he's trying to remove that centre guard that the Swiss put up first of all, which he has, so that the Dutch have a clearer path to the middle. And of course the Swiss want to do the opposite, so they're quite happy to just keep putting that centre guard back. So we'll probably see this for a couple more stones. So we've got 2 more games
Linie goed.
out on the ice at the
Linie
moment.
goed.
You can see a little bit of them either side. So we've got Iseli, also from Switzerland, versus Yannick Schwaller's team. So they're the defending champions. So that's an interesting game to keep an eye on as well. And then we have Team Schneider versus Team Retornaz from Italy. So Schneider is also a Swiss team, and Joel Retornaz, I think most of curling fans would be quite familiar with that Italian team. So we'll keep an eye on those scores as well. And our featured game here, that was nice line there from the Swiss stone. You can see it's right in front of their short stone in the 8-foot ring there, but it probably travelled on a little bit too far, so now they've left a possibility to hit and roll in, or maybe for the double. So he doesn't quite make the double, but he does get a nice roll. So those red stones are building up nicely on the wings there, and that will be a little bit concerning to the Swiss. So they're staying with the aggressive game. They're still going to put up that guard in front of their short stone in the middle. So at the moment, Swiss are still lying those 2 yellows that we can see there in the white circle in the 8-foot. So that's a little bit of insurance for them just now that they're lying that second shot as well, because there's a couple of Dutch counters, the red stones building up on the wings there. This one's got a little bit to curl. It looks like they've done much the same thing actually. So that's ended up pretty much where the previous shot did. So again, it's not bad for line, but it's come a little too close. So now there's an opportunity for a double takeout, which I think Jaap van Dorp will gladly have a go at. Yep, so the brush is down from Skipfutter. He's definitely going for the double takeout here. This looks better this time. Lovely shot, really nice. So we can see that even small mistakes at this level are really punished, so that wasn't a terrible shot from the Swiss. At club level, we'd probably be pretty happy with that, but at this level, it's a little bit different out there, and just going half a metre too far and not making that guard and instead bringing that shot into the house gave Netherlands the opportunity for the double, but she said thank you very much. And now Swiss have a... They have to get a nice T-line here, so a T-line shot is going to come right up to that horizontal line there. That's the T-line. He's pretty close. Very nice weight. I'm not sure if Netherlands can see all of that. So Wouter Guzjens, he's just having a look at the angles there. They're wondering how to approach this shot. So Netherlands have last shot, remember, in this end, but they still have 2 Swiss counters at the moment. So if Netherlands is going to score, they need to do something about both of those Swiss counters, obviously. So it looks like that shot is at a nice enough angle for the Swiss. It's not right behind that red, as you can see, but it's at a nice enough angle that it looks like there isn't a double takeout available anymore. So a little bit of a switch up of plans now for Netherlands. So they're going to follow that Swiss stone instead and give themselves a chance to hopefully make 2 points with their final shot. So that's nice shot there. Again, the yellow's gone and that red is hanging around on the wing. So there was no double take out available there, but that was a nice clean controlled weight just to push that yellow through. So again, this is the Swiss are really under a bit of pressure here. If they make a mistake, as you can see, there are now 3 reds hanging around on the wings. So if the Swiss ever make a mistake, if they would throw it a bit too long or a bit too short, then Netherlands are just waiting for that opportunity. Then they can remove that yellow and they should be lying a whole heap full. So there's quite a lot of pressure on the Swiss here, even though their yellow shot is still closest to the middle. So he has just played it. Well, actually, no, it's we're on 4 stones now, so he hasn't just played it, but then they're looking for the same kind of weight as the third player through.
Oh, there's the Zibitz now.
So he really needs this shot to be same kind of length as the last one, so he'll be looking to get it into the white ring at least, and hopefully into the blue. So they're saying the line is good, but sweeper was on it immediately.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to get it to the rings? I don't think they are. That's exactly what Netherlands was waiting for. So now they can have a go at that yellow stone, and then they'll be lying a hatful. So that's could be a costly mistake from the Swiss there, with that yellow shot coming up short. This is a really nicely played end so far from the Dutch, just nice patient shots. Nothing too fancy, very nice double take out with their 5th shot. This isn't an easy shot though, so they've got the opportunity they were working for. They got that mistake out of the Swiss, but this is not an easy shot. He's got to get round that guard. But if he makes this, the Swiss will be in a whole heap of trouble. So this will just be a controlled weight. He doesn't want to throw it too fast. That's very much what we see nowadays. In the old days, when ice technology was not as advanced and the ice was not so fast, typically we would throw bigger weights to take out shots. But these days you very rarely see a very fast shot played. It's mostly this nice controlled weight so that your sweepers have a chance to help the stone either with the line or the weight. So you see the sweepers are right next to it. They're on immediately. This looks like a nice line. Looks like the sweepers are doing a good job there. Really nice shot. Well done, Netherlands. So there we are. That was, we can see very clearly the result of that one mistake there from the Swiss. So at this level, those mistakes are really punished. So lovely shot there from Netherlands, and now they're like 4. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 red shots, no yellows, and Swiss have only got 1 stone left. So this will have to be a good one. This is a lot of pressure to be under in your second end, in your first competition of the season.
Gut oben schauen. Lieber eigentlich intern, aber wenn es nicht geht, spielen wir aus.
Gut. Da für ihn, Frau.
So.
So they're having a bit of a look, I think, to see if... I think they're looking to see if that double goes. So the 2 stones either side of the vice skips brush there. And that would certainly help matters if they can get rid of 2, and also if their shooter then stays in play, that would certainly make the situation a bit nicer. So big shot here from Jan Hess.
Achtung! Yep. Yep.
And they've just got 1 sweeper, but that curled a wee bit too much, so this is a relatively straightforward shot. Again, at this level, Netherlands will be delighted with this opportunity. So they played ever such a nice end, Netherlands. Forced that mistake from Switzerland, put a lot of pressure on Jan Hess's last shot, which just over curled a wee bit and is now sitting open. So you could hardly ask for a nicer shot to make a big end's worth of points here. So if he makes this perfectly, Netherlands are going to pick up a huge 4. Seem pretty happy with it. The sweepers are just keeping it clean all the way. You don't want any little pickups or so. Yep, they hands up already. What an end for the Dutch team. Very well crafted. You could see they were just being patient, keeping those stones in play on the wings, waiting for the opportunity. Forced the Swiss into a mistake and took that opportunity, and now they've scored 4. So yeah, smiles all round. High fives for the Dutch team. And our Swiss team, with only 3 in it, they've got a bit of a mountain to climb now. So again, at this level, it's very tough to score more than 1, and even crafting out a 2 can be a lot of work. So yeah, to get back a deficit of 3, this is a lot of work now for the Swiss team. So while we're just setting up for the 3rd end, we can talk a little bit more about the competition. So there's 8 ends in the games in this competition. At international level it's 10, but in these competitions it's 8 ends and an extra end if needed. So with that big score of 4 now in the 2nd. There we are, that's the rules of play there on the screen. So 8 ends with 1 extra end, so I think that's a new rule for this year as well. So it's a little bit unusual that a team ever needs more than 1 extra end, but it does happen if an extra end is blanked. So now that doesn't happen anymore. And yeah, so we have 2 groups who are currently playing a round robin, and then we'll have the quarter-final is on Saturday evening, semi-final on Sunday morning, and the final is at lunchtime on Sunday. So I think there's at least 1 game being streamed every round, so plenty of curling to watch this weekend after a bit of a curling drought. That's a nice enough start from Netherlands. It's a little bit longer than they want. They would rather have that in front of the tee line. So the tee line's that horizontal line that we can see where Jan Hess's brush is sitting on the ice. But they won't be too worried about that because the Swiss have no choice now. The Swiss have got to play aggressive, so that's exactly what they're doing. They're putting up a guard there on the wing. Sounds like they're pretty happy with the weight. They're calling it 2 or 3, which means about halfway between that thick horizontal line, the hog line, and the rings. So yep, lovely shot there. And again, Netherlands are trying to do the opposite. So the Swiss are happy to keep play on the wings and build up shots like we saw the Dutch team do with previous end and end 2. And Netherlands, of course, are trying to do the reverse. They are quite happy to keep the play in the middle and put pressure on Switzerland. So the Swiss would love to have an end like Netherlands had last time. Build up some shots on the outside and then try to get the Netherlands to make a mistake. So that's 2 nice stones there from Netherlands lead Carlo Glasbergen. And again, the Swiss can't really afford to do anything about that at the moment, so this may seem like a counterintuitive idea when you've got those 2 red stones already very nicely placed in the 4-foot circle in the blue. It might seem a bit counterintuitive that the Swiss are just ignoring those. They're not doing anything about it. But it's important for the Swiss that they set up some counters and then deal with the middle shots a little bit later on. So that's a lovely line. Look, it's right behind that guard. But yeah, there's still space to get to it. So the Dutch are just going to follow that round. So it just went over that T line. So that means that the Dutch team are just going to follow that exact path, and then they will outcount that yellow Swiss shot just played. If that shot was just a little bit shorter, if that had been ahead of the T line rather than behind that T line, the shot might have been a bit more difficult for Netherlands. Of course, that's a good job from the sweepers, and they do get it round that guard. That's a great shot there from Laurens Hoekman.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad for Swiss. So they did lose that shot, but they've still got their guard out front, and they've got now that Netherlands shot that they can come and sit on top of, and then they will be on the T line. So that's what they'll be trying to do. But you can see the difference that those 2 sweepers made. The 2 Dutch sweepers to scrub that shot and make sure it fits around the guard. So the Swiss are at a disadvantage with their sweeping as well, with only having 1 sweeper. This looks like a lovely effort. Simon Gloor.
Super.
Schön.
Perfekt.
Very schön.
13-9.
Very nice shot, Simon Gloor. Yeah, so that same shot from Netherlands isn't going to work. They can't just push it through because now it's got a bit of backing. So yes, he's got 2 choices. He first of all signalled, do we want to remove that guard, the yellow in front of the rings? But they've decided, no, we're going to play the same shot we just played. So Laurens Hoekman played a really nice shot last time, so they're looking for the same again. And with the same idea, so they just want to sit on top of that yellow Swiss shot just played, and then they will be closer to the middle, and they will neutralise that dangerous Swiss shot. So if you're watching on YouTube, the chat is open, so feel welcome to ask questions or send us messages. We've had someone's watching all the way from Brazil, which is great to hear. And it looks like we've had a super chat from Daniel Husley. So thank you for that. I'm not quite sure how that works, I must say. So yeah, we'd love to hear from you on the chat if you've got any questions or anything to say. Now in our featured game, that didn't quite curl as much, that Dutch stone from Laurens Hoekman, but yeah, so there you can see he was just pointing at that stone that just played from the Dutch, so you could push that stone out because it's not quite on the backing. But I think that this is now a good choice here. So these are the first 2 shots that the Dutch played. Remember, that was the first 2 shots from lead Carlo, and now is really the time indeed to start clearing a bit of space. So if the Swiss want to score, at some point they have to do something about these 2 shots. Does he get the double or just the 1? But that's not a terrible shot. It's a bit of a half shot, but that's an okay result, because even though Netherlands want to remove that shot now, so that's now a danger shot for them. You can see it. This is a nice angle. We can see that if you hit that yellow, there's a whole bunch of shots behind there that could quite easily catch. So Jaap van Dorp has to be very careful with his line here. Otherwise, if he removes that yellow at the wrong angle, that yellow could squirt back and stay exactly in the forefoot, which is not what they want. So yeah, you can see they're having a bit of a think about it. They want to make sure that they get their angles right here. So we have another few people in the chat, so thank you, Daniel and Tom, for your nice words, and hello to Theater, I hope I said that correctly, watching from Sweden. So I'm sure we'll have some of the games from Niklas Edin's team streaming over the weekend as well. That's always an exciting team to watch. The Edin team from Sweden, they were the champions in 2017. And of course they're one of, if not the best team in the world. So they'll be fancying their chances, I'm sure. Although, like everyone, I'm sure their training's been a bit disrupted and not ideal in the lead up to this first competition. But we're delighted that they're able to be here. There's a few teams who hoped to be here, but they didn't make it after all. So if you look on the event website, you'll see some names that are not in fact here. So we'll watch this shot, then we can say hi to them. So Netherlands trying to remove that yellow. They need to keep it. We're having a good sweep there to keep it on the left side as we look at it, so that it doesn't squirt back. So it just catches that back red, but that's a good result anyway. So good sweep there, guys, to keep that line as straight as possible. So he's removed that danger shot. And there's still pressure here on the Swiss. So that front red there, just thrown, that's still a danger shot for the Swiss. But they do have an opportunity now to maybe tap through that red on the right side of Jan Hess's brush as we look at it. So this is starting to look a wee bit like N2, so the Swiss will be quite happy with how this is going. If they can push that red through and get a little roll, I think it's going to curl too much though. So right idea, but again, that's not a bad result. They may get a chance to try again with the next shot, but Netherlands will be thinking, of course, how to block that. Yeah, so if Netherlands gets a stone locked in there, both of those yellows may be for nothing. That's exactly what they're trying to do. So this should be again a relatively straightforward shot for Jaap van Dorp. He's got 3 stones to catch, so he can afford to be even a little bit heavy. And then he's really going to cancel out those yellows, and it would be very difficult for Swiss to bring them back into play. So that's a shame that shot played just from Switzerland. It's a shame that just over curled there. Otherwise they'd be sitting pretty nicely behind that corner guard. This looks exactly where they wanted it. Yep, great shot from Jaap van Dorp from Netherlands. The Swiss are going to have a go at it. They think they can move some shots around, maybe give themselves a chance to bring those 2 yellows back into play.
Bildschirm sieht es aus, als würdest du noch drüber bekommen, aber nicht, hä?
Als was?
Weißt du, wenn du das machst, da bekommst du nie so raus.
Nein, nein.
Können immer alle, hä?
Ich glaube nicht, dass der rausgeht.
Ja. Sicher einer muss gehen.
Mir gefällt eben der da.
Da finde ich
wir den schon mal los.
Ja.
I'll be impressed if this works.
Sind wir als dritt wieder hinter der Guard.
Ist gut.
Kennen wir ja.
Ist gut. Wie schnell?
There's this is definitely the right shot, but there's quite a high chance of squirting the yellows out as well. So yeah, he's thinking maybe that's not such a a good percentage shot is what we would say when there's different options for a shot. We could play this shot or we could play this other shot. We talk about the percentage shot, which means which shot gives us the better chance of having a good outcome. So he's not throwing such a high weight at this. You can see the more distance between the brush and where you want the stone to end up, the slower the weight will be, and vice versa. So if you have the brush right next to the stone, you'll be throwing quite a high weight at that because it won't curl as much when it's going quickly. So looks like they're just trying to move a couple stones around here. They're probably not expecting to sit shot after this exactly, but yeah, they're saying, yeah, good shot there.
Yeah.
So again, for us, we maybe think, hang on a minute, that red's still closest, so why is that a good shot? But that's pretty much, I don't think they could have done much more with that. So now they've got those 3 yellows really nicely behind that guard. So if they can ever have a chance to play at that red, then they could bring 1 or 2 of those yellows back into play. So that's what they'll be looking for. They'll be hoping that they can get a mistake now out of Netherlands. So there's lots of stones in play here. That's what we like to see, both in the last end and now. So both teams are challenging each other with where to put the stones, with what angle they'll be looking at. So while Netherlands are having a bit of a chit-chat, we've had a interesting question from Karen in Brampton, Ontario. So thank you for joining us, Karen. Maybe you're up early in the morning. And she says, how is the COVID-19 affecting the curlers? And are there any different rules that need to be followed? So that's a great question, Karen. So I'll return to that because some of the teams that were hoping to come to the competition were not able to travel after all because of COVID-19. There are some slightly different restrictions. So when we have a moment, we'll discuss those as well. The obvious one, which is a bit poignant, is that curling's a very friendly game, and before each game, even at this international level, all curlers shake hands and wish the opposition good curling. And so we don't shake hands at the moment. So that's the first rule that had to change a little bit, is even before the game, when the teams are introducing each other, no shaking hands. So I think we either do a elbow touch, is the kind of new thing now, or we just wish each other good curling. So that's one rule that's certainly, that's not even a rule, but yeah, that's one tradition that's suffering at the moment. But yeah, that's a great question, Karen. So when we have a bit of a break in the game, then we'll return to that. Okay, so decision's been made. So I think where Jaap van Dorp's pointing his brush, that's where they want the stone to end up. So he wants to sneak in behind that front red, so that even if the Swiss do make a play on that side red to the right of the screen as we're looking, that's nestled in there with the yellows, if Netherlands can get this shot behind the front red, then it will still be quite difficult for Swiss to bring those yellows into play. So Netherlands really wants to lie 2 after the shot. That means they would have 2 stones nearer the middle. This is very similar to the situation we had in N2.
Frage ist, ob wir mit einem langsameren oder mit 10
so
oder so. Hä?
That stone
So, nein,
from
wenn wir
Vutal has come up a little bit short, so that's exactly what happened in the previous end.
lösen, dass wir zu viert liegen,
The
dann haben wir eine Chance.
the Swiss were forced into a mistake, and this end they have got that little mistake out of the Netherlands, and now they do have that opportunity to attack that red stone where they're all pointing at with their brushes. So they're not going to be able to get that red shot out cleanly. They know they're going to sacrifice one or two of their yellows, so they're trying to understand where do we need to hit that red shot that we can hang on to as many yellows as possible. So the yellows are going to move as well, and they need to understand where's the best place to attack that red, and at what speed as well. So do they want a controlled weight, maybe more like just back line weight, just to move some stones around, or do they want to throw quite a big weight, but then they might squirt all 3 stones out? You can see there's a lot of chat going on in this game about the angles and where to hit the stone, where do you want the shooter to go. The shooter's the stone that they're about to play. But this is exactly what we like to see. We like to see lots of stones in play, lots of different angles.
Mit 11 bist du einfach da hinten. Ich finde es sehr gut, du verlierst hohe Energie bei diesen Freezes.
The other idea, it could be to take a run at that corner guard, the yellow, and try to blast out those front reds, but I think they'd probably save that for a Hail Mary for a last shot if needed. So this is the opportunity again that the Swiss were working for in this end. So let's see what they can do with it.
Ja.
Achtung!
Yep.
Quite a fast rate, but controlled.
Oh! Anders!
Let's see if it works out the way they thought. Oh no, it just curled too much. And so Netherlands got away with that mistake there. So now the Netherlands are going to try exactly the same again. They still want to lie 2 after this shot, and Swiss are going to have to hope that they get another mistake out of Netherlands here. I quite like what Jaap's pointing to there. I don't think you need to go behind those 2 reds that Wouter's the one who has to play, and he seems to like the draw. He just had a look at it with his first shot, but what Jaap's suggesting is maybe to attack that red, and then you could potentially get rid of both of those yellows and again be lying a hatful. So yep, I think he's managed to persuade Wouter that that's a good idea. Yeah, I don't see much risk to this shot. I think if you connect with that, yeah, exactly. If you connect with that front red where Jaap's pointing with his brush, I think if you just touch it in the right place, I think both the yellows go. So Swiss had their opportunity, but it just overcurled. Maybe they need that second sweeper. It was a bit too much for just one sweeper to hold that line. Good sweep from that Dutch front end. So they've moved one of the yellows, but one's still hanging around, so there could be an opportunity to pick up 2 points here for the Swiss. Yeah, they can see all of that shot. So it looks like he's playing nice controlled weight, probably about back line or so. He doesn't want to throw a big weight at this because his yellow shot also has to stay in the rings.
Ja. We gaan de hinten sogar steken.
So they did get a second opportunity this Swiss.
Muss schon 11,5 ist Hack.
can see that he's holding a stopwatch there, so what he'll be doing is timing the first part of the shot so that he gets a good idea of the speed of the shot. And that's out a bit. He's got a way to curl yet. I think it's done enough to get one. And again, that was a good opportunity for Swiss. I think they're not quite making the most of their opportunities just now.
It's good, oder?
It's tough out there. It's tough to play with three, and it's particularly tough when it's at this level. So yeah, Netherlands again, they'll be quite happy. They've now got last shot back again. They only got 1 point against them from the Swiss. So yeah, good end again there from Netherlands, although there's some Swiss mistakes as well. But yeah, so returning to Karen's point about COVID-19. We're looking at some past champions now while they switch ends. So yeah, there are some teams that were hoping to come, but were not able to travel because of COVID-19. So there were 4 teams from Scotland. So Team Bryce, Team Mowat, Team Patterson and Team White were missing those 4 teams. And then a couple of teams from Norway also were hoping to travel, but are not anymore. So that was Team Ulsrud and Team Wallstad. So shout out to those teams who are not playing the competition after all. We shall miss those teams here this weekend. There's some big names missing that normally would come to this competition. So hopefully we'll be able to see those teams soon. And the problem for them, from their perspective, is actually Switzerland. So it's Switzerland that is on the naughty list at the moment for COVID-19. So those teams would be able to come here, but because the cases in Switzerland are a little bit higher at the moment, then they would have to quarantine when they went home again to either Scotland or to Norway. So that's why those teams have not travelled, because it's the Scottish and Norwegian governments who are imposing the travel restrictions. So yes, it's actually Switzerland that's the offender in COVID-19 terms for that. So missing a lot of our good curling teams and who've supported this competition a lot over the years. So we're sad that they're not here with us this weekend. But that gives us an opportunity to look at some new teams that we maybe haven't seen so much of. And we're having a really nice, interesting game here between Van Dorp team from Netherlands and Jan Hess from Switzerland. So the Swiss are really struggling a bit. They're not quite getting their line correct. I think they're maybe missing that second sweeper. And the Netherlands are putting a lot of pressure on them. The Netherlands are playing pretty nicely. So Swiss sticking to the aggressive tactics. They're still 2 points behind. So they're getting there. You know, it's possible to get these points back. There's plenty of ends left. But they're going to have to be pretty aggressive until they at least can make that deficit. So that's 2 really nice shots there from the Swiss lead. That's 2 nice centre guards that then they can come behind. You can see there's a lot of communication between the teammates. So as soon as the throwers let it go, then they're communicating to the skip what kind of weight they think it is, what the skip will be communicating, what kind of line. So that looks really nice for weight. And they've moved that yellow off the centre, which they're happy about, and they have that sneaky red counter on the wings. So Netherlands seem to be very good at building these counters on the wings. And the Swiss have suffered from that in the second end, so they won't be wanting a repeat of that. So the sweeper immediately calls the length is good, or the weight is good. He's still giving it a bit of a hand. Line's pretty nice as well. That's not a bad result. It could do with being a little bit closer to the rings, because now Netherlands have an opportunity. They could make the double take out here, take off both those yellow guards, which I think that's exactly what Jaap's indicating. No, I think they're just going for the middle one. That's the more dangerous one for them. We have a nice cheerful chat from Brett Jackson, says yay curling, so I think everyone will agree with that.
Nice, good.
Everything stopped rather abruptly at the beginning of March. The curling season just ended rather overnight. So we didn't have World Championships or I think the Mixed Doubles Championship and the Seniors, that was also abruptly cancelled. So yeah, there's a lot of curling to catch up on, so I think, yeah, everybody's happy that we're back in some form. Like we said, a slightly smaller field. Our friends from Scotland and Norway are not able to travel. But still a lot of teams here. I think these Swiss boys are really going to feel their shoulders after their efforts here today. Just that one sweeper trying to help the stone along. Yeah, so our corona casualties, again from Scotland, we were expecting Team Bryce, Team Mowat, Team Patterson and Team White, who were not able to travel, and Team Olsrud and Team Valstad from Norway. So if you look on the event website, you will see their names. They fully intended to come, but outside events have to take priority sometimes. So another straightforward peel for Dutch team, nicely done. They're trying to keep that centre open. The Swiss are trying to do the opposite, of course. So they're going to continue playing towards the middle.
Sorry.
The Swiss are trying to steal this end, and when we talk about stealing an end, that means that the Swiss team doesn't have last shot, but they hope they can pick up one or more points anyway. So their best chance of doing that is if they play stones towards the middle and they make it too difficult for Netherlands to remove the stones or outplay them. So yeah, there's another guard. We'll probably see a couple more at some point. The Swiss will have to come into the rings though. But this is wise for the moment. They're again hoping that they can get a mistake or a half shot out of Netherlands, maybe leave a Netherlands stone covering part of the centre, and then they'd want to take advantage of that. So that can be a helpful way to think of curling at this level, is you're always trying to get your opposition to make a mistake and then take advantage of that mistake. You're trying to make their shots as difficult as possible so that either they make a mistake or they make a bit of a half shot, and then you can pounce and score points off that. So no mistake there. A nice clearance from Jaap van Dorp. So again the middle is open, and again the Swiss will try to plug that up. No, he's not doing that now.
Hij had het zo naar de lips heeft wel gezegd. Het is niet zo.
Om centrum. Nu, voor en af.
Er is gewoon einfach zum Pflücken.
He wants the stone to be. I think that makes sense. I'm not sure what else he's thinking of.
Freeze.
Nope, nope.
Waar is dat?
Gerade over.
Danny. 15, ist gut.
I'm not sure what the call is here, if they're wanting to put up another guard or if they're trying to nudge up to that red stone.
Niet goed!
It's in the rings.
Niet goed!
Achtung,
In de
Gerd!
Warte, Blatt!
Oh, Blatt!
Ja. Linie komt besser.
Komm noch!
Vor de 4 Höhe brauchen wir. Ja, ja. Ja,
That's
schon.
exactly what they're trying
Ja,
to do, is
Hard.
try to cancel out that red. It's, oh
14,
gosh,
6.
when it's not going for you, it's not going for you. So again, good effort,
Was?
maybe with 2 sweepers. That could have been a really good shot there, but it's just not quite going for the Swiss
Linie
team
komt geil.
today, sadly.
Sorry.
So now that gives the opportunity for Netherlands to use that space behind the centre guards.
Ja, das ist mir immer noch im Kopf am Nick, weil wir jetzt rausrühren oder wir müssen einen Rund machen. Ja. Komm so. So.
14, 8. Ist eine Karte, oder?
Ja, so.
Ich will schon, ja.
Ja, gut.
So
Er
that's
wird
all
den
short.
spielen
Again, that's a
wahrscheinlich.
bit of a let off.
Eigentlich wäre es am besten, wenn wir wirklich hinter der bleiben. Weißt du, so.
So the Swiss still
Ein bisschen
have
übergehen.
Ja.
space to
Dass wenn er den spielt, dass wir ihn immer noch versteckt haben,
Come
dann können wir
around
nämlich
exactly
nachher
where-
nachher.
So,
his brushes there
Yeah.
next to the 4-foot blue circle. You can
ja. Einfach in der
really
Linie.
punish that mistake from
Good.
the Netherlands. So like we said before, it's maybe not unusual that the teams are just taking a few ends to just find the good weight and get their feet back on ice, because everybody's had quite a disrupted preparation for this tournament. So we'll
That's
probably
a bit
see a
overguarded.
few more mistakes at this level than we typically would.
Das ist normal, hä?
Linie gut!
So the first of Jan Hess's stones.
Immer
on fourth
Fuß!
end.
Immer geil.
Immer Körle!
Hey, Linie gut.
Linie gut! Ander!
Line's nice, they're saying.
Grad!
How far can he get it?
Komm noch, komm noch, komm noch, komm noch.
Simon Gloor's showing a huge effort, so that is short. So good effort from Simon Gloor, his solo sweep, and it's ahead of tee. So they would have liked it a little bit closer, more like in the
Wurde hergeguckt,
blue
hä?
4-foot circle, but
Haben wir
that's
völlige
not a bad
Körle.
result.
Was?
It's nice
Kann
and
man
hidden,
merken,
behind plenty of cover.
Ja.
There is space still for Netherlands to
Das ist der
swing one in behind it. That's what Jaap was just pointing to.
Ja.
Vuto
Dan
wonders
nog
about the
Herster, hè?
promotion takeout, so red onto yellow.
Für mich
That's
hat er
a
am Anfang mega breit.
courageous call. He must be feeling in good form.
Klar. Klar.
Netherlands have been playing very nicely, so yeah, that's exactly what he's going for, is that
Zum
red,
Glück lachen wir noch.
push back onto the yellow and remove the yellow.
Ja, sie lachen noch meinst
Komm, schieß mal ein paar Fetten raus. Hast du den angeschaut?
Nein, noch nicht suchen.
Das sind 5. Zweimal du genau das gleiche und 3-mal die anderen. 2 gleich. Ich bin nie im Druck.
So this is a courageous call from Vuto. Good for you. But Netherlands does have last shot in this end, so it's not such a big risk. In a worst case, he will surely remove his own red guard, and then he would still have space, and he would still be able to see either that yellow, or he would still have space to draw one in with his last stone. But this is a courageous call, good for him.
Ja, der ist jetzt schon also.
zit er knap zo in de net zo. Namelijk te doen.
They were trying to sweep it for a bit more curl on that occasion. So it just hung
Is
out a
het
little bit.
teruglopen?
Indeed, that's removed that guard that wasn't really helping them.
Het kan met daar.
Vind je ook goed, ja. Gleiche Linie.
So whatever the Swiss do now, Vutter should have a shot to pick up one with his last stone.
Ziel was schon da, wenn
Yeah, that's ideal for the Swiss. If they sneak behind everything,
Het is muur mee.
plant it right on the
Then
tee
Joe
line, that
zeker
puts a lot
rondom.
of pressure on Netherlands. So Swiss have played a good end here. They still had a couple of little half shots, but a nice shot here to finish it, and they can definitely put pressure on Netherlands. They may be able to score 1 point here. That's exactly what they are hoping to do.
Ik heb er zo'n of die. Echt op de raam.
Linie gut, trouw blijven!
Linie goed, de plaats.
Last shot from Jan
A
Hess
flop.
at this fourth end.
Andere spoor.
He just played a tee line, so he should have a good idea of the
Trouw
weight.
blijven, 3
Carla.
Weight looks really nice. Is it going to curl?
Oh. Sorry.
Is it going to stop? Oh, that's running on. Oh, that's a shame. He maybe felt with his first shot he was a wee bit short and didn't want to be short again and overthrew it. That's easily done. So the
Heads to
situation is
scoren.
that yellow shot that both of them are looking at, just in front of Jaap van Dorp's brush. He's asking
net.
how much of the stone can we see
Hebben
from
we
the
niet
other end.
waanzinnig veel sneller. Ja.
So that's lying shot at the moment, that's scoring, and then second shot is that red on the right hand side. So there's a couple of possibilities here. Netherlands could try to attack that yellow that's shot, but I think this is the more sensible idea. So Netherlands is up by 2 points. They don't need to take risks here, and that's definitely a more risky shot, would be to attack that front yellow that's currently shot, whereas Vutter has all of the 8-foot circle, so all of that all of that white circle. If Vutter lands a shot anywhere in the white, then he will score 1, and Netherlands will be plus 3 points, and that's fine. So at the moment they're taking the scoreboard into account as well. They don't need to make 2 points, so that it would be either the choice is quite a difficult shot to make 2 points, or should be quite straightforward shot for Vutter at this level to make 1 point. And I think this is definitely the correct decision. So the sweepers are right close to it, always keeping it clean. I'm just going to help it in. Yeah, looks like it could do with a little bit of scrubbing there. But the Swiss is already tidying up the stones. They know that's a good weight, lovely weight there. So 1 point to Netherlands. So at the halfway point, Netherlands, Van Dorp's team from Netherlands, they lead Jan Hess's team from Switzerland by 5 points to 2. So it's not impossible for Jan Hess's team to get back. They've got 4 ends left. We're at the halfway point.
Tweede inval, zo weet je
But
dat
yeah, this level, it is very tough. To go 2 or more points down at this level, it is a long way back. So for the sake of good curling, let's hope the Swiss can continue to put pressure on Netherlands and continue to try and chip back at that lead. So we can look at the other games that were out there as well. So looks like Yannick Schwaller's team had a very comprehensive win over Iseli's team from Switzerland. So they've already stopped actually, which makes sense. There's a lot of games to come this weekend. So if the game is too far away, it makes sense to shake hands, although of course in COVID times we're not actually shaking hands. So Yannick Schwaller's team had a 9-1 victory against Iseli's team, so they're already finished. And then the other game that's on just now is Schneider from Switzerland against Retornaz from Italy, and that was poised at 2-2 after 3 ends, and they've just tidied up the 4th end, and it looks like Italy scored. So that's a pretty tight game going on next door as well. So we had an interesting question from Andy Woolston, who's watching in Scotland as well, about the 5 rock free guard zone. So this is now our second season with the 5 rock free guard zone. So what that means is that area in front of the rings, the white area in front of the rings, that's called the free guard zone. And well, way back in the day, that didn't exist at all. So in the 1980s, what tended to happen was the team who's throwing first would throw a guard, and the team who's throwing second would take it off, and the team who's throwing first would throw a guard, etc. times 10 ends. So this was very boring for everyone. So the free guard zone was introduced in the 90s, and until a couple of years ago it was 4 stones. So what that means is, say, example, this shot here from the Swiss, which, gosh, that took everything to get over the line, and Jap's just going to check it and agree that that did in fact get all the way over the line. So now that yellow shot just played by Swiss, that's in the free guard zone. And what that means is that the Netherlands cannot remove that stone until 4 stones have been played. So that's what a 4-shot free guard zone means. And we've been playing that for 25 years or so. Now, what happened was teams were getting so good at removing 4 guards after the 4 guard zone that for the past couple of years, what we've had now is a 5-shot free guard zone. So same idea, all stones that are in that free guard zone area, so the white area out in front of the rings, it now means that you cannot remove any stones until 5 shots have been played rather than 4. And this has quite a big difference actually. And yeah, the reason to do that was, again, to try to keep more stones in play, try to keep more aggressive tactics. So the role of the second thrower has really evolved. So it used to be the second thrower would typically be very strong on hitting, so they would be oftentimes hitting out the guards in the free guard zone after 4 stones. And now, because we have 5 shots have to play before we can hit anything, so the second player typically would not have their first shot as a takeout. So yeah, the question from Andy is, what do I think about the free guard zone? The 5-shot free guard zone, has it improved the game? So I think, broadly speaking, I would have to say yes, because indeed, I think, you know, and this is a compliment to all those magnificent second players who could just clear out 4 guards with 1 shot, that the people were becoming so good at that indeed we were not really getting a lot of shots in play anymore. So I think from that perspective, I think I have to say yes. You know, I think it was a good progression to have 5 free guard zone, 5-shot free guard zone rather than 4. My only, my only concern, or the only thing that I think is that it, to some extent, it feels maybe a little bit too artificial now. So I think everybody agrees the 4-shot free guard zone was a relief to everyone. Nobody wanted to watch, you know, throw a guard, take out, throw a guard, take out for 10 ends. So yeah, everybody thinks the free guard zone is in principle a good idea, but yeah, I think the more you, the more stones you protect in the free guard zone, it starts to feel maybe a little artificial that not all of your shots are available to you. So yeah, I'm not sure I have a alternative solution certainly, but no, that's an interesting question, Andy. If people have thoughts on that, then by all means share them in the chat. What do you think about the 5-rock free guard zone? Of course, we're all still getting used to it as well. This is only the second season that we've had the 5-rock free guard zone rather than 4. So teams are still working out what's the best tactics for that, if you're ahead, if you're behind, etc. So I think overall I have to say yes, it has been definitely an improvement, because it does keep more stones in play, and that's what we like to see. You know, that does make the game more interesting. I think we do have more interesting aims to watch, and that's good for curling. But yeah, definitely share with us your thoughts on the 5-rock free guard zone versus the 4. We're all still getting used to it, so let us know what your experience has been like. So the Swiss are very much hoping to use it. So here's a perfect example. So Netherlands are +3, although they haven't put their score up. It's 5-2 to the Netherlands. So the Swiss are quite happy to keep their 2 guards out front there. Those 2 yellow shots, that's what the Swiss played. The Netherlands, traditionally, that's exactly what you would play. You would play your first 2 shots into the house. Now that stone just played there, you would typically want to start removing guards, and that's not an option. So it forces the teams to play a bit more aggressively, which we like.
Hey, gefällt mir fast am besten.
Zwischendurch.
Lieber den innen ankommen, hä?
Ja. Gut.
So Swiss have last shot here. They don't want the middle getting all busy and cluttered, so they're going to start trying to make a bit of space.
Achtung!
If they want to score,
Yep,
they have
Achtung,
to
ja! Yep,
move
ja!
the counters.
Halt! Ja! Fish!
This looks pretty good. And this time
Gut.
he did manage to hold it. Oh, he got a little bonus double take out there as well. Really lovely shot. And again, excellent sweep from our solo
Schöne.
sweeper there.
Gut gewischt. Aber Linienrolle.
Great sweep there. That makes it round the guard by nothing at all.
Ja, doe maar wat een risico.
So Netherlands don't have last shot. So they want to just limit the number of Swiss stones hanging around. So they want to do exactly the same.
Ze vorne
Just
erop
remove
vallen.
that Swiss counter now. They've got two sweepers, but they didn't make it around the guard. So again, that's exactly
Haben wir so etwas?
Ja, Andi hat
that
die
mistake that
gefunden.
the Swiss were hoping for.
Das ist das Schwierigste aber.
So now they've got the
Sollen wir einfach
opportunity
so
to really
herlegen?
start building a couple of stones. Yeah, there's a couple of options. You can either put a stone in here where Jan Hess's brush is, behind that guard, so
Haben
it's
Sie
nice
da
and
etwas?
protected.
So!
Or you could
Ja.
go to the other side of the house as long as you don't leave a double. But yeah, they put that guard up, so
Schauen wir
I
einfach
like the
in die
idea of
Düse,
using it,
wenn
yeah.
es rausschaut.
they've got that. Oh, they've got the double guard because they had that first shot
Ja.
just squeaking over the hog line.
Sammy, hè?
I think this is the right call. Let's use those guards.
Ich meine, wenn ich den da mache, wir können den Plan B. Eben. Plan B auf den Tap mit Roll, hä?
Ja, aber... Wird nicht passieren. Wir kommen ja da.
Okay, ja.
Yep, exactly.
Aber ja, bist lieber heavy.
Eben, ja.
So Tom says about the 5 rock free guard zone, I like it, as it gives both teams the chance to set up 2 guards.
Linie
Yeah,
gut.
exactly. So then we see a lot more
Bis
drawing, a
8.
lot more aggressive
Vor der
stones.
12 ist super.
Hey, Plan!
That was a lot of the thinking behind the mixed doubles rules as well. So they also have certain restrictions. The free guard zone is also in play, and they also have additional restrictions on
Ja.
stones being kept in play for the first few shots. And that was part of the thinking behind the mixed doubles rules as well, was that the idea was to keep stones in play. So we already have stones placed out front in the mixed doubles, so 1 stone out front, 1 stone behind. So we already have stones in play when we start and end of mixed doubles. And I think, yeah, the general consensus is that it is interesting to watch when there are more stones.
Ja.
Ja.
That didn't quite curl enough for the Swiss, so Netherlands has the opportunity for a double takeout here. So Swiss they're working very hard to generate opportunities, but just not quite finishing them off. They've got away with that though. That Netherlands shot just hung out wide. It was a little bit straight. Didn't quite curl as much as they wanted. So yeah, now they have the opportunity. They can come in behind those nice double guards again.
Ich glaube, wir kommen schon an einen guten Ort. Bisschen weniger noch.
I think it sounds like he's going to give a little bit less ice, so maybe the previous shot was accurate, but maybe just a little bit too much ice. He looked pretty good with his weight on the last shot, so hopefully he's got a good feel for it.
Linie gut. Gell. Stellen! Da! Wo sind wir? Nimm ihn tief! Ja, ja. Komm noch!
Jan Hess coming out to help as well. This looks like a nice shot. Big team effort. That looks nice. So I think the angle is not there for a double takeout. So Netherlands recognises that immediately. Yeah, we can see a lovely angle there that, yeah, there's no double takeout possible for those two. So what Netherlands is trying to do will be to hit that shot just to the left of Jaap's brush and then roll in behind those three yellows. So if you can get this roll in behind that cover, that will be a super shot. That will put a lot of pressure on Swiss. You can see he's got quite a lot of space that he can roll to.
Kannst du nicht haben eigentlich. Was ist denn los? Ist nicht? Was ist denn hier?
And he's got it perfectly. Look at that. That's exactly what they said they were going for. So really nice hit and roll there. So this that shot that the Swiss are pointing to, they can play that front yellow onto the red, but that is a difficult shot. So really nice shot there from Vuta, the fourth thrower for Netherlands. They're really putting a lot of pressure on this Swiss team. That's the other option, is to just try and outdraw that red. Look at that, it's in a fantastic place.
Wenn wir den da spielen, dann muss gleich immerhin noch einen Roll spielen.
That's not a bad idea. Just play a gentle weight at that front yellow to keep that front yellow in play and put another Swiss counter in play, and then hopefully get a chance to
dann muss
do
einen Roll
something
spielen, dass
about
Second
the
liegt. Und
Netherlands
dann
counter
pflücken
with the
wir
last shot. Again, another team discussion. This is a really interesting game that we're watching today. There's a lot of questions
Das wird erst der Beste.
Gut.
Es ist noch
strategy being
schwierig für ihn,
discussed
er
out
muss einen
there.
Roll machen zum Second liegen dann. Ja.
Ja.
Ich würde aber auch genug Länge spielen, weißt du, wenn tief kommen.
Was spielst du da?
Ja. Wir müssen die wirklich verteilen.
Gut.
I think that is the decision. So they're going
so
to throw a gentle
Yeah,
weight, or
backline.
like just
Bleibt
T-line
mir
sort
das
of weight.
passiert.
And what they want to do is just move that yellow, the yellow that's in the rings. They just want to push that one a bit left, and then with the shooter, that's the shot that Jan Hess will be throwing. They'll want that to roll away to the right, so they just want
Dann
to
müssen sie sicher ein bisschen
split that
gut
front
runterbringen.
yellow and give themselves
Weißt du, von der
hopefully a
Länge
bit
her,
of space to
dass wir
see that
noch
red for
einfach
last
einen
shot.
Doppel haben.
And again, they will have to hope that the Netherlands gives them a bit of an opportunity.
Ich glaube nicht, dass er Huren macht. Komm, auch die Länge.
Oh!
Jupp! Achtung! Hopp! Oh!
So yes, no,
Oh!
keep. That's normally
Oh,
a good
Curl!
sign.
Curl!
Means it's pretty close.
Grad!
Hure heavy, huh?
Just a little bit heavy.
Ja.
They're not missing by much, the Swiss. They're just not
Tani.
quite on top of their game at the moment. But they're playing the right thing, but they're just not quite
Gut,
getting
das
the
ist
rubs.
ein Sport fast. Ein 11,5 ist ja ein Hack.
So pretty straightforward shot for Netherlands to finish off their end. This is their last shot, and then Swiss will
Gut, das ist nachher
have to pretty much put a stone right in the middle to get a point. nice straightforward. Hit in the stick, lovely shot there. So the Swiss, yep, they have to draw against those 2 counters that are touching and in the forefoot. So this is not at all an easy shot. It is open, so he doesn't have to sneak around a guard or anything, but getting that perfect weight, he's got to be out-counting that red at the bottom of our screen as we look, that's almost fully in the blue forefoot circle. So this is not at all an easy shot. This is, again, good pressure from Netherlands. Here it comes.
Linie gut!
Simon Glure again,
D-line.
giving it everything, and Weiskip coming out to help. This is going to take everything, yeah. I'm not sure if this is going to...
Hard, good!
Yeah, it's not bad.
Kom nog.
Ooh. They say good. Looks like a yellow from our angle. Yep, Netherlands agrees. What a great sweep that was.
Bang.
And what a great shot. That was a real pressure shot. So well done, Jan Hess. Well done, sweepers. That was the difference between a score of 5-3 and a score of 6-2. So that was important to get that point on the board.
Yeah.
So while the teams are changing ends, we can come back to Karen's question about how the tournament's affected by COVID-19 and restrictions. So indeed, there are some additional rules that we have here for the weekend. So there's another of our nice traditions is sadly affected. So typically teams would have a drink together after the game. You would find that at the club level as well, and also at this level that typically the winning team offers the losing team a drink, and then the teams sit together after a game. And so that's not happening. So the athletes are only here for the games, for the warm-up and the games, and then they leave the premises. So there's no sort of mixing with the teams. There's no post-team drinks, which is a bit of a shame, but yeah, that's one way that we're trying to make sure people have less risk of exposure. Also, the athletes and spectators are not mixing either. So the spectators, we're all up here in the restaurant area, and the athletes are in the playing area, in the changing room area, and so on. And yeah, we're not mixing those groups of people either. I'm just having a look through to see what else I can tell you about that. So additional cleaning, of course, you know, the locker rooms and all of the facilities are being cleaned more often than normal. Everybody here is they're registered, of course. You know, we leave our name and phone number for contact tracing. And there's sort of a one-way system for coming in and out of the facility as well. So just, yeah, small changes just to make sure people are not bumping into each other and not exposed to higher risk. So I think when you're on the ice, I don't think it's affecting it. So maybe that's what you were meaning, Barbara. So I don't think there are any additional rules during a game, let's say. It's more, yeah, the running of the competition that's a little bit affected. And as we said, like our friends from Scotland and Norway are not allowed to travel at all because Switzerland does have slightly higher cases than those countries at the moment. So they're staying home and staying safe. I know that's a great question, Karen, so thank you for asking that.
Ja. Is goed dan, tip top. Goed. 50.
Tip top, says Jan Hess. And indeed, that's again 2 nice centre guards. So it's a lot of work when you're behind in a game. You're just constantly playing guards and constantly playing draws and constantly sweeping. It's hard work to make those points back, but the Swiss are doing exactly the right thing. They're giving themselves a chance. So in the other game still on the ice, you can see, well, one of the games has already concluded. So the Iseli Schwaller game on the left of the screen as we look at it, Schwaller's team won that 9-1, but the other game on the right of our screen, that's Team Retornaz from Italy against Team Schneider from Switzerland. So the Italians are 4-3 up after 5 ends, and they've also just started their 6th end. So another tight game going on next door.
Voor 4. Winning point.
Hey, Kloek!
In de plaats.
In de 4.
Proef finish. Proef no finish.
Ga niet.
Yep.
And staying away from sweeping this until it's curling anyway, because it's got a little bit to curl. So once the stone starts to curl, then by sweeping it in that direction, you can help it curl a little more. So yeah, that's not a bad result. But Netherlands, they've got last shot again. That centre guard there isn't helping them, so they'll be quite happy to remove that. So yeah, we've played 5 shots, so this is the first stone that in this new 5 rock free guard zone, this is the first shot that's allowed to remove guards from play. And Netherlands has been doing that ever so nicely all game, so no surprise. And the Swiss, of course, will be happy to put that back. And they're, again, relying on a mistake from Netherlands to try to give them an opportunity to steal a point here because they don't have last shot.
Niet zo pushy voor haar.
Niet goed. Veel plaats. Geil.
Easy.
So it sounds like, again, the stone's got a little bit of room to curl.
Ja.
Kom nou!
Curling at the end, that's pretty good. I think he's going to get it just right. Yeah, really nice shot, well done. That's exactly where they wanted it. Yap thinks they can see a little bit, I think, from of that shot stone behind the guard, so he's going to play a controlled weight and just try and chip it out. And if the stone curls too much and removes the guard, they won't be disappointed with that either. What they don't want is to miss everything, but I don't think they're going to. Oh, really nice. I thought that Swiss stone was better hidden. See, and again, these red stones just hanging around. They're playing that lovely controlled weight to move Swiss counters, and then oftentimes they're just hanging around on the wings with their own shots as well. But yeah, Swiss still has that centre guard that they can use. So they'll want to hide this shot a little bit better so that Netherlands can't reach it. We've got Wolfgang in the chat from Oberstdorf. Hello, Wolfgang. How lovely to hear from you. I'm glad you're here. We've got one team from Germany in the competition. That's Team Muskatewitz. So I'm sure there's a couple of streams that we can watch them coming up. So that was another great effort from the Swiss. They're really working hard to pull themselves back into this game. it really can feel like quite a slog if you're a couple of points behind and you're constantly having to draw and you have to get it really perfect, or at this level, if you can see an edge, they will chip it out. So does he make the run back? He does, but I don't think it's going to be enough to remove the yellow. So good effort from Jan. But importantly, from the Swiss perspective, they have left that nice centre guard. So Jan Hess doesn't mind if that's a yellow stone or a red stone. They're going to continue using that centre guard to try to hide behind.
Niet goed! 8-4! Ene plaats! Arte! Vanetti! Oh.
So I can tell you what's coming up in the next round as well. So, as we said, they're streaming all weekend. So, at each draw, there will be at least one game to watch.
13-8.
So the Swiss not so happy with that. Lovely line, but it's gone a bit too far. So it leaves space for Netherlands to do something. But important is they've got those two counters there. So there we are. You can see that at the bottom of the screen there.
So look.
Next game on the stream is an all-Swiss affair, so it's Peter de Cruz. They won this competition, I can tell you. They won in 2016. And of course, they're also a very well-known team. Plenty of tournament wins, so they will be playing Gempeler, who is also a Swiss team, so an all-Swiss affair. And that's normally aggressive and lots of stones in play as well. So that's what's coming up next, and then we have two more draws after that. So next draw is at 4 o'clock European time, then the next draw after that is at 6:30 European time, and the final draw this evening is at 9 o'clock European time. So it's a busy schedule. There's not a lot of time between games, so that's why we were a little bit behind with starting this game, just because one of the games in the previous draw went to an extra end. So it's a tight schedule. It's a busy day for the curlers and the spectators. So another team chit-chat. There are 4 stones left to come. There's 2 from Netherlands and 2 from Swiss. Sorry, 3 from Netherlands. There's 5 stones to come. There's 3 from Netherlands and 2 from Swiss. So the dilemma that the Netherlands here have is that there are those 2 Swiss counters. Netherlands has last shot, so they won't be panicking. But the dilemma is, do we do something about those Swiss counters? Either hit them out or play a stone to nudge up against them, or do they just want to actually remove that centre guard? Because it's not really helping them. The centre guard is helping the Swiss. And again, Netherlands are +2. The score is 5-3. So if Netherlands just score 1 point here, that's fine. They don't need to take risks and try to get a multiple score here. So I might have been tempted to just take off the centre guard personally, but that's my default shot in pretty much all circumstances. So that's not what Netherlands are doing. I think they're trying to hit and roll behind their own centre guard. I think it's probably enough though, so now Switzerland can try the same. So they could either play the same shot, exactly, where Jan Hess is pointing his brush. They've just played that shot on the counterclockwise turn, or they could play a similar shot like Netherlands just played, so remove that red counter just next to Stocker's brush there, and they could do the hit and roll instead. So either way, they want their yellow to end up just behind that red guard. Looks like they're going for the draw rather than the hit and roll. So they've just played the draw, so they should have a good idea of the speed of the ice. And Netherlands are not going to play a guard on that red shot, so if they need to, then Swiss can potentially attack that red shot with their last stone. So important for them now is that they want another stone ahead of the tee line and behind that centre guard.
Linie gut! Ja! Oh! Nummer bis 4.
Nicht geil. Halb 4.
4,5.
Halb 4.
Halb 4. Oh, wow! Good.
Lovely shot, really well played. So look at that, that's exactly where they wanted it. It's right in front of the tee line and it's buried behind that red centre guard.
Yeah.
So yeah, Netherlands have, I think they've brought this on themselves, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think they've left a lot of stones in play that they didn't need to. Yeah, so now what do you do? Whatever they're trying to do now is a lot more complicated than if they'd just opened out the front. While Netherlands are contemplating the mess they got themselves into, I can update you on an interesting result from this morning. So as I said, we're watching Peter de Cruz's team in the next draw. And obviously that's one of the top teams. They won bronze medal at the last Olympics, so that's one of the top teams in the world. But they did indeed have upset this morning, so they lost to the German team, Muskatewitz. So they'll definitely be out for a win this afternoon to qualify for the playoff rounds. So as we said, there's definitely opportunities here for some upsets. It's a good time to get a win against some of the bigger teams in this first competition after a disrupted summer. So what are Netherlands doing to get themselves out of this mess? So he's certainly created space. Everyone's having a look at it. It's a little bit hard to tell from this angle. From my angle it looks like a red shot, but it always hard to tell.
Ja, das ist besser.
So now
Das 8.
the Swiss have an open double takeout.
Ja.
Or they could do the draw again because they have nice draw weight. They've just played it. But I think this is the right call.
Mit 8 können wir schön.
Netherlands have last shot. And
3 Viertel ist super.
if Switzerland can remove both of these, they're anyway going to be lying 2, and if they get the roll correct, then they could be lying 3 behind cover and really put pressure on Netherlands. So if Switzerland make this shot perfectly, I think Netherlands may regret their decision to leave that centre guard when they could have removed it.
Zie je hem al?
Wow. Oh, wow.
Achtung, Jan!
So again, yes, no sweeping. Normally is a good sign.
Sit!
Calling that shown to sit. That's a great effort. So there's still space for the Netherlands, absolutely, but they're only scoring 1 and he's drawing against 3 shots, and that's never a nice situation. So great effort there from Swiss.
Mega.
I would go the other way, yeah, because then you've got some yellow shots to back you up if you're a little bit heavy. I think that's the safer handle. counterclockwise. And yeah, if this is ever short or a bit too long, the Swiss do have a chance to maybe pick up a point or two here. So they're really working hard, the Swiss. They've, again, worked hard to give themselves the chance to try to pick up a point. They've gone back to the clockwise turn. They've maybe just got more experience with this line. So even though there's those 3 yellows, if you came the counterclockwise handle, so where Jaap van Dorp was standing initially, there's those 3 yellows in case you're a bit too heavy. But maybe they have more experience with this line. They've played more shots on this side of the rink, so that's why they're more comfortable doing this. So this has to be in the 4-foot in the blue circle to score. Looks not bad.
Definitely.
I think he's perfect. Is that going to hang on? Yeah. Great shot. Under pressure from Vuta. Really good shot. Well done. So 1 point scored by Netherlands there. So we can see how important that big score in the second end was. That big score of 4 to the Netherlands in the second end. And that's really taken a lot of pressure off them, because now when they've got last shot, they're quite happy to pick up 1. As long as they're not letting Switzerland pick up points. That big 4 in the second end's really given them a cushion.
Ich glaube, die Seite da innen raus, wenn wir ein bisschen schauen, es macht verdammt wenig. Gehen wir wieder auf diese.
So while they're having another team powwow,
Ja.
I can update you on another surprise result this morning. So again, in the first round at 8 o'clock, Team Edin was playing against Swiss team Klossner, and a very close game, but Swiss team Klossner, they won 6-5 against Edin's World Championship team, so they'll be delighted with that. So yeah, no team is safe here this weekend. There's been a couple of upsets from some big names already. They won their second game, Edin's team, and they're back on at 4 o'clock against the young Iseli team, who are also Swiss. They're from Glarus Club. And yeah, they've both had a lot of experience at junior world level, so that's not an easy game for Edin's team either. There's no easy games in this competition. Another really nice start from Netherlands. Carlo Glasbergen is really throwing some very consistent weight.
Any good?
3-0!
And I have an idea we will again see in this end how the 5 rock free guard zone works instead of the 4. I'll be looking out for that. So again, this is a very traditional way of starting an end. If you're the Netherlands, you're plus 3 points. They haven't quite put that score up, so the score is 6-3. You're plus 3 points. You don't need to have lots of stones in play. You're not so interested in putting out guards, so you just put a couple of stones straight into the house, so that even if Switzerland is building points over on the wings there, at some point they have to remove your counters. So that's exactly what Netherlands is doing. Oh, thank you, Jan Hess, for putting up the score. Whereas Switzerland is doing the opposite, so they're going to put out a couple of corner guards, and they'll want to get some stones safely behind those wings before attacking the centre. This one's just coming up a little bit short, is it? No, it's fine. Really nice shot. So we can see Jan Hess is saying same shot the other side. So he'll have a corner guard on either side.
Any white?
Drivers through! Bis through!
Geil ab. Ini ist gut.
This looks pretty nice again.
Da oben lang, da oben.
So there we are. So in the 4 rock free guard zone,
Goed.
Netherlands would
15,5.
surely want to start removing those corner guards, because that's the danger shots for them. You can hide one or more stones behind both of those corner guards. So in the 4 rock free guard zone, at this point, Jaap van Dorp would surely be signalling to start taking those guards off. Now he's not allowed to do that, because now we have the 5 rock free guard zone, and this is still rock number 5. So this shot isn't allowed to remove other shots from play. So this is where the key tactical change is visible in the 5 rock free guard zone. So it didn't quite curl, but not a bad result.
Hak oder 11?
So we can really see that with this 5 rock free guard zone, immediately there are more rocks in play. So now there are 5 rocks in play. Whereas historically, if we were playing the 4 rock free guard zone, we would probably only have at most 3 stones still in play, and maybe even only 2, depending on how the opposition guards were set up. So it definitely does keep stones in play, which typically makes for more interesting shots for us to watch.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So what he'll be wanting to do here is, yeah, move those reds around. Very nice. And also keep that yellow hanging on. So yeah, that's pretty good. So yes, the yellow's open. He'd have loved it if that had just rolled a little bit further left as we're looking. And yes, those reds are still hanging around, but both of them are behind T. So I think that was quite a good result for the Swiss. So remember, Netherlands doesn't have last shot in this end. Swiss has last shot. So they're quite happy to remove stones from play. They don't want a lot of stones hanging around that can be used as guards or that other stones can sit against. So yeah, this is a nice idea now. So we can see that original corner guard, the yellow, where Jan Hess is standing. And indeed, now you have a really nice opportunity to play a Swiss stone up to that red. Or you can play the freeze, yeah. So those 2 options that Jan's pointing out, you can play a direct draw behind the guard he's standing behind just now, or you could play to the other side and nudge up against that red counter, and then it would be hard to remove such a yellow stone from there. So it looks like, actually I can't tell, he's giving centre ice, so I'm not sure what the decision was, which handle they're going for. I think they're going to sit on the red, but let's see. No, they're going around the left-hand guard as we can see it.
Achtung, ja, ja, ja! Halt! Whoa! Whoa!
This looks like a nice effort. Really nice line, look at that. And it's just going to continue curling behind that guard. Really nice shot. Well done. So again, Netherlands have a couple of choices here. They've got that centre guard, so if they wanted to generate points, they could try to play a T-line behind that centre guard. But as we said, Netherlands is already +3. They don't need to make tricky shots, or they don't need to take risks to try to generate points. They're just happy if they can continue keeping Switzerland's points down and scoring 1 with their own last shot. So to that point, what they're going to do is now start removing the guards so that they can see that yellow shot behind. Yeah, nice clearance there from Jaap van Dorp.
Zo. Ja.
Hak.
De linie kennen wir, hè?
Ja. Ja, dat is oké.
Goed.
So we can see already the effect that that 5 rock free guard zone has had. There's many more shots in play than we would typically expect with a 4 rock free guard zone at this level. And that's really generating chances for the Swiss. So it also has the effects that if a team is behind, like the Swiss team's 3 points behind in this game, it gives them, typically, if everyone plays their shots well, it should give them a better chance to get back into the game. That's just over curled again. They've played that shot a few times and it's just over curled for them. But that yellow's still hanging on. The red is still open. So that's not a bad result. They just need to work a bit harder to bring it into play. So this is a lot of stones in play. If you're Netherlands and you're already +3, this is a lot of stones in play. So that's really a good visual interpretation of the 5 rock free guard zone that we can see here. And that was really the intention, was to keep shots in play, to go aggressive. Not that teams can just clear up all the stones and then there's no guards in play, there's no shots to hide behind or nudge up to. Ooh, and he stuffed it. So we got a bit of a jam on that back stone. So there are 2 Swiss counters hanging around. And Jan thinks that he can get a nice hit and roll over to sit in front of that other red. So at the moment, Switzerland could still pick up 2 points in this end. They always need a mistake or a half shot from Netherlands to do so, but yeah, Swiss are quite nicely set up here.
Achtung!
Close.
Oh! Close! Yep! Oh!
So important that this yellow hangs around as well. They want to remove the red, but important that this yellow hangs around.
Whoa!
That's exactly what he wanted. Great shot. So that yellow's really locked on the red, and it will be pretty difficult to remove. So now the Netherlands again has the decision. Looks like they're going to use that centre guard. Let's have another look at this lovely shot. He couldn't have gone and placed that much better. Really nice. You can see from this angle that that yellow is not going anywhere. It's got the red right behind it. So now Netherlands have a decision. They don't have last shot, remember. So they can try to put pressure on Swiss by using that centre guard that's just in front of Wutter. That seems to be where they're signalling. So remember that centre guard, that's there because of the 5 rock free guard zone. Because Netherlands weren't allowed to play a hit. So that's why they have that centre guard. And that's exactly the idea of the 5 rock free guard zone, is to generate this kind of aggressive situation. So yep, looks like that's the decision. So the Netherlands are forced to be a little bit aggressive here. Ideally, they would like not very many shots in play and just keep removing shots. Because aggressive shots tend to have a higher risk. But this definitely makes the most sense. So we can see at the bottom the split time. What we're looking at is the time that the stone takes between the near hog line and this hog line. So 13.5.51. That's quite fast ice, and you'll see the teams timing that split from hog to hog, we call it. And that really gives the teams an idea of how fast the ice is playing. So you'll hear teams talking about, let's play a 10-second stone, and that's what they mean. They mean a stone that is travelling fast enough that it would take 10 seconds between the two hog lines. So that was a 13.5 stone, and that's exactly T-line. And that's just a more accurate way of understanding how fast the ice is playing. So I have a lot of experience in wheelchair curling as well, and in wheelchair curling we've been timing that split for a long time, because of course it's a static delivery with a stick for the wheelchair athletes. So in wheelchair curling this was very typical to time hogline to hogline, and now the foot curlers are doing it as well. So I would say that's about a average time, I would say, for a shot that ends up on the tee line, about 13.5. The ice here will be very good. It will be competition standard. So a stone travelling a 10-second stone, you'll hear teams asking for that. That would be about a controlled takeout, so not as fast as you can throw, but still enough to take out a stone or two. I would say about the fastest you would typically throw would probably be about an 8.5 or 9 second, so that you've still got some control. And then all the other weights are anything in between. So yeah, I would say a really fast takeout would be about between 8 and 9 seconds between the hogs. Controlled takeout would typically be about 10 seconds. And then 11 and 12 seconds, that's starting to be the more controlled weight, like more backline or maybe out to hack. And then 13.5, as we just saw, lands perfectly on the tee line. So it looks like the Swiss want to move this raid. Swiss have last shot, remember, in this end, so they have 2 shots to come, including this one. The Netherlands only 1. So they would love to move this raid and bring that other yellow into play.
Done. Close! Whoa! 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 Girl! Girl! Oh!
It's also staying a little bit straight, but
right.
Yeah, that's a nice result. So this does indeed put pressure on the Netherlands. We've seen Wout get really nice hit and roll behind cover earlier in the game, so he won't be nervous of doing this, but they do need to remove this yellow. And they do want to get that roll, otherwise the Swiss will have an opportunity to score 2. So if you want an illustration of how nicely the 5 rock free guard zone works, N7 of Van Dorp versus Hess in the Baden Masters is exactly a good example. So important shot here for Netherlands. Whatever happens, they really need their red shot to hang around, because you can see we can count them. There are 4 Swiss shots, and just that one lonely Netherlands shot just behind there. 1, 2, 3, 4 yellows, and just that one red. So if they're not careful and their shot runs out, then Swiss have a shot for a hatful of points actually. So we want this to be good. So we've got the split time again. This will be a faster shot than before. So they're 8.9, so that's a takeout. Oh, he doesn't quite get the double.
Ich glaube nicht.
Nee. Nasse. So schwierig.
But first things first, that's
wenn wir 2 nehmen,
should have taken away the risk of a really big end against them. It was important that that red stayed in play after removing the yellow.
Wenn, dann wäre es wahrscheinlich ein 8 von
So
ihnen,
what they're
oder?
discussing is how much of a risk they want to take. So it's,
Der geht
again,
nie
at this
her mit
level,
dieser
it's
Linie.
quite an easy shot for Jan Hess to
Du musst
simply
ein Viertel haben.
repeat the shot that Netherlands just played. So he can just remove
Also
that
Linie
red,
musst du haben, sonst kannst du
his
den
yellow
gerade
will stick,
daherlegen
and then
und
they would
schneiden.
score 2 points because that back red is still in play there. What they're discussing is how much of a risk they want to take. Do they want to risk trying to roll and catch their own yellow and try to, that's the angle they're looking at now. So they would love that if they can really get that angle perfectly
Also
and for their yellow to
entweder gibt es zwei
spin
gibt's
off
4 oder minus.
and go up to that back
Vier oder
yellow,
eine.
and if they could ever squirt that back red out, then they could pick up a massive 4, which
Nuni.
would really
10.
change the game. So that's what they're discussing. It's not a
yeah.
difficult shot to pick up 2 here,
Das sind wir in der
and they're
Chance,
discussing
um
whether
zu
they
machen.
want to take the risk to try and pick up a big 4.
Komm noch schnell den Winkel anschauen.
So,
Ja. So.
Drittel,
So.
Viertel.
Meinst
So it looks like they will be coming on the counterclockwise
Ich
handle.
glaube, so.
Ist gut.
Ich würde aber im Fall wirklich fast 9 von der
Also,
Länge.
Ist gut.
So,
Yep.
machen wir
So
den.
they've got to be a wee bit wary of that centre guard actually. It has to curl, there we are, that's a nice angle. It has to curl enough away from that centre guard towards the shot stone to get the right angle to then drive across the rings and squirt it out. So good for them having a go at it. I think this is a very courageous call. I might just have taken the easy 2.
Ganz wenig mehr.
So good luck, Jan Hess. I would love to see this shot work. So he's trying to just catch the inside of the red and then roll across
Whoa!
inside the other one. Here it comes.
Close!
Whoa! Whoa! Close!
Whoa! Yeah! Hard! Whoa!
Made it past the guard. They like the sound of it. Has he got it? Yes, he has. Look at that. Bravo, sir. Wow, says a few people here, and they're right. So, goodness me, that's changed the face of this game. So, bravo, Team Hess. Look at this. Let's watch this again. So, yep, he had to make sure it curled away from that centre guard, and he catches it just perfect. Look at that. Quite right, yeah. They've been working very hard to get back in this game, Team Hess, so good for them. So, yep, perfect example of how helpful the 5 rock free guard zone is there. So, wow, that really changes the face of this game. So, for the first time, the Swiss team are now in front. They picked up a big 4 in that 7th end. So, now the Swiss team are 1 ahead, and it's Netherlands who will have to work to generate a couple of points in this final end. Oh, cool. So there we are, that big 4 up on the scoreboard. So Netherlands must have wondered a wee bit what hit them there. But for us neutral spectators, that's exactly what we wanted to see. A really exciting big shot. And now that totally changes the face of the game. So Netherlands does have last shot, so they won't be feeling too panicking yet. But they need to score at least 1 to make sure they go to an extra end where they would not have last shot, or ideally they want to score 2. And Jan Hess's Swiss team, they've dropped that stone short. They didn't want to put it in the house because they don't really want to go to an extra end. They would rather just win the game here. So what they're trying to do is stop Netherlands scoring that 1 point that they need to keep the game going. So Netherlands need 2 to win the game, so that's why they're starting again with a corner guard. So Netherlands will continue trying to work to get 2 points. And at the very least they need 1, so they'll work for a 2 and make sure they can still get 1. And of course Jan Hess's Swiss team, they will be doing the reverse. They will be trying to make it very difficult for Netherlands to even get 1 point. And then they could win the game right here, which would be, I think, a surprise for everyone. Maybe including Team Hess. Oh, is this one? Of course they've done this a few times, haven't they? Here's another one of those blow it over the hog line shots. So I think this may be the first, it looks like Jaap's talking about playing a tick shot. I think that might be the first one that we've seen in this game. So like we said, all of those shots at the moment, they are all in the free guard zone and they cannot be removed from play, but they can be moved around. So what Jaap's signalling is, let's just try to push that yellow, not push it out of play, but we just want to push it to the side because he still wants to make sure that the centre is free for their last shots. So this is a really difficult shot because you have to play enough weight to move the yellow and not enough to move it out of play, and you have to catch it at exactly the right angle, so again you don't push it out of play. So this tick shot is a really difficult one. I think this one's got neither the weight nor the line. So he has moved it off the centre, but that's not a great result. I think that stone curled a bit too much, yeah. So you can see he did move it off the centre, but there's a lot of stones out there already, which suits Swiss team. They're happy if there's a bunch of stones out front. They just need 1 buried in behind, and then that makes Netherlands' life very difficult. So they're calling this one scarred as well.
Dan ga je warten. Niet snel, niet snel. Immer voorste wenden. Oder nicht zu tief. Ich hatte keine so eine blöde Reinwicklung. Jetzt auch. Was ist das?
So yep, this is best tactics for the Swiss, is they're quite happy to have all these stones out front. They've already got that stone in the 12 foot, the red ring there. It's unlikely that would be a game winner for them, but it could be a handy insurance shot. So Netherlands are still going to keep trying to punch some holes in that Great Wall of China out front. So yep, that's a good shot there. That's cleared a bit of space on that handle. But again, Switzerland are going to continue trying to put stones out front. So here's a nice replay. What happened there? Oh, we missed it completely. Oh, sorry. I was paying too much attention to the chat. So so Laura concentrating again now. So yes, Jan Hess is quite happy to keep putting stones out front. Yeah, so not too many spaces to get a stone into the house from here. So Netherlands are going to have to be careful with their choices here. So they need to make sure that they can get at least 1 to keep the game going. They're struggling at the moment, I think, to generate 2 points from this position, but they need to make sure they can get at least 1. So what I might do in this situation is make sure that I keep 1 handle, so 1 side of the rink free, and just accept that this is looking a bit busy to generate 2 at the moment. So let's make sure we've got a clear path into to make 1 point at least. so I was paying more attention then, and that cleared a bit more granite than the last shot.
Klein beetje normaal, hè?
So Swiss
Wanneer naar een omgang kunnen we nou?
putting up that centre guard. They've got that little
Zonder waar
saver shot
daar,
there
maar
still in
vindt
the
niet
rings.
zo goed.
Ja, clear is niet goed, hè?
Onder daar, oder? Blijf gewoon naar elkaar maken.
Ja, vind ik goed.
So we have a question from Anna about how will you guys end the game? Do you still have a handshake? And I guess, Anna, no, you're quite right. That's we were talking about that a little bit earlier, that we are not starting the game by shaking hands as we traditionally do. And you're quite right. The teams will not shake hands at the end either because of COVID restrictions. So to keep everybody at lowest risk. So that's a very traditional part of the game. So it is a shame that that's missing. So I think we either do kind of a fist bump or an elbow bump or something like this. And we also mentioned before that the athletes are staying completely separate from the spectators here in the curling hall, so they won't be coming upstairs to the restaurant area to have drinks together, as again, even at this level, that's a big tradition in curling, is that the teams sit together and have a drink after a game. So that won't be happening this weekend either. So the athletes, as soon as they're finished with their games, they would leave the facility and go back to the hotel or whatever they want to do. But yeah, everybody's keeping quite separate. So everybody's out to help with a shot. So that's a decent effort from Jaap van Dorp. They've decided, okay, it's time to start using those guards out front and go into the house. So it looks like they're still trying to work to maybe get 2 points and try to win the game outright. This is exactly what we like to see, guards out front. Lots of stones in play.
Machst du, ja? Ja. Weiß nicht, wie weit der geht. Schon nicht viel Platz.
Aber es geht.
Run back, Swiss.
So if you're Switzerland, what do you do now? You have guards out front, that's what you want. You don't want to make it easy for Netherlands to score.
Ja, aber wenn, dann höchstens der da.
Ja.
But you don't really want them to score one either, or then we're going to an extra end, so Swiss would rather score here.
Ett hack.
So if they remove that red, they can see maybe about 1/3.
Gaat nog even hinderen.
At this level, this would be a relatively straightforward shot that they could remove that red, just chip it out. But then the guard is still there, and they're giving Netherlands a second chance to play it better. So that might not be their best choice of shot. On the other hand, it's really blocking the path to the centre for them if they want to be sitting short at the end of this. Because you can see the red on the left of our screen as we see it, the red guard. That's really blocking the counterclockwise handle, so there's no way in there. So I'm not quite sure what the decision is. I think they may be trying to drive that front yellow onto that red that's just been played.
Oh.
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 So that's not quite curled enough, but it has opened that red. So that was sounded like a 10-second stone. They were just confirming the split time there. So that You could see that was enough weight to push stones, but not a full takeout weight. So that's that controlled takeout. So now Netherlands has a choice to make. So we've got 5 stones left to come. 3 from Netherlands, including this one, and then 2 from Swiss. So what does Netherlands do? They would still love to pick up 2 points here. So probably their best idea is to... They need another shot in. They need another red counting after this shot. So maybe a good idea could be to play on that red that they played previously. So they could do a split and try to push that previous red behind, further behind the guard, and then themselves roll behind the other guard and get good separation between the shots. Or they could go for a direct draw, maybe on the counterclockwise handle. So I think they're going for the split. So they're trying to push that red in the front rings. They're trying to push that a little bit further in, and then they will try to roll to the other side to keep separation and lie 2 at the end of this. So this is a big shot. If he makes this shot perfectly, this will put a lot of pressure on Swiss. Just remember, Netherlands it is who has last shot. We can see the 4 stones left. You can see both sets of eyes really following that stone for the line. That's exactly it. So he'd have that's a great result. He would have liked it if it had pushed that first red a little bit further, but I think that's a pretty good result. So now they're lying 2.
Well, you can see there is a double takeout possibility, but a double takeout's never easy. So I think that was I think Netherlands will be happy with that result. It's important to get that right. So I would say with that shot, at least, I think Netherlands should be able to make sure of 1 point here. But let's see. The Swiss got a 4 out of thin air, almost out of magic, but yeah, I think the other teams may not want an extra end here because it's a very tight schedule and we're a little bit behind after the previous draw. So I'm sure these 2 teams are quite happy to fight it out, but from the organisers and the other team's perspective, we might like the game to finish in this end. So is Jan Hess going for the double takeout here?
Oh! Achtung! Yup!
Hand!
Whoa! Yup! Yup!
Fish!
Hard, hard, hard!
Oh, and he's just caught the guard. Is he going to get a bit of a bonus though? Ooh, that's not such a nice result. Again, they were missing that second sweeper there, weren't they? So it didn't quite make it round the guard. So now Netherlands has an opportunity to put a lot of pressure on, yeah. So first things first, Netherlands have to remove that yellow. And then what they're discussing is where they want the red stone to roll to afterwards. So where Vutta has his brush, that seems to be where they want it. So yeah, they'll want to hit the stone just on the outside, so just between Jaap van Dorp's brush and the stone, so that the red will roll upwards as we're looking at it into that cover and in with the stones on the wing there. So again, if Vutta can play this perfectly, this puts huge pressure on the Swiss. So that was all set up by that nice previous stone from Jaap van Dorp. That made it a difficult shot for Jan Hess, who didn't quite make it. And indeed, now Netherlands has a great opportunity to finish the game here.
So this looks pretty good. I think, yeah, even on the nose it's not terrible. Because that's, again, it's a tough double. It's possible, but it's very flat. Yeah, I think that's the potentially the more likely double takeout. So they're always going to go for that red stone in the middle, right where Jan Hess's brush is. So that one's always going to go, and the question is, do they want to try to do the double takeout with the stone behind the tee line, so where Stocker is standing, or do they want to try that really flat double with the two red stones in the front of the tee? I do think that the double with the back red is more makeable. And again, important is that this yellow also sticks around, because he doesn't want to give Netherlands a free draw for the two and to win the game.
Whoa! Yep! 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 Whoa! 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 Oh! Schön, you schön! On the back!
Oh wow, he nearly got all of them moving. So great effort from Jan Hess there.
Der ist mal fast halb drauf gewesen. Er ist wirklich rausgefallen.
Let's have another look at that in the slow-mo. We can better appreciate what just happened. It all happened very quickly. I think that was more like a 7-second stone there. So and he, of course, he nearly gets all three. Great effort. And they are lying one shot afterwards. Netherlands can see all of it, so they'll feel fairly confident about making this shot. In a worst case, even if they roll out, then they should score one, but they should feel fairly confident about this. But great effort from the Swiss team to drag themselves back into this game. So this is never an easy shot. If you're doing it in practice, you'll make it all day, but if you're doing it to win the game, never so simple. So this looks pretty nice. Yeah, really nice shot. Well done, Muta. So yeah, then we can see no handshakes. Unfortunately, it will just be a verbal thank you for the game, I guess. So I guess, yeah, within the teams, I guess that's part of your social bubble, as we call it. But yeah, no handshakes as we would normally see, just congratulations and well done. So Ian in the chat also wondered, was the triple there? So
yep,
they felt like it could have been. Yeah, they had a great go at it, certainly. So I think that's probably about right. I think the Netherlands just about had the advantage over a whole game. But great to see the Swiss playing some really lovely shots to drag themselves back into that game. So I think we're about 20 minutes or so behind schedule. So the next draw is scheduled at 4 o'clock European time. And I think it will start probably 20 past or so. So what we're just really looking at now, after the game, the teams do their last shot draw for the next game. So this draw will be measured and then compared with their opposition's draw after their last game. And then whoever gets the closest, then they will get last shot. So thank you ever so much for joining us, everyone. Not long to wait until the next game. So if you have time, then yes, please join. Please keep the questions and comments coming in the chat. And we shall be back at 4:20 for Cruz versus Gempeler.